Welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Ubani. This edition, we take a closer look at U.S.-Russia relations and the United States relations with the rest of the world, alongside a major leak last week that revealed U.S. former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn had been discussing sanctions with the Russian ambassador to Washington. Professor Charles Dokubo of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs will be joining us for the analysis. Then, a closer look at the U.S. foreign policy towards Nigeria, following President Trump's phone call to President Muhammadu Buhari, who is in London awaiting results of medical tests, according to his spokesperson. Plus, Gambia marks another presidential inauguration for Adama Barrow, this time on home soil. Amidst issues of distrust between some members of the U.S. government and Russia over allegations of discussions held between some members of the Trump administration and Russia, coupled with allegations of Russia's influence in U.S. elections in November springing up again, it appears the Trump presidency is still desirous of closer ties with Russia. But there are impediments on the road ahead. While both sides say they're willing to work at improving relations, the United States is calling for caution as Russia continues to trouble Ukraine. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence was in Germany over the weekend, attending the Munich Security Summit, where he said the United States will continue to hold Russia accountable despite search for common ground, which President Donald Trump believes can be found. Remember, President Trump sounded very fond of President Putin during the campaign and appeared supportive when details of the Democratic Party's activities were hacked, revealing information believed to have hurt Hillary Clinton's campaign. But while President Trump appears to be trying to curry favor with President Putin, he also wants to put his foot down and act like the President of the United States.
This would be Vice President Mike Pence's first members of the Trump administration and Russia sprung last week. At the Munich Security Summit attended by European leaders and ministers, Mr. Pence promised that the United States will continue to stand by Europe, back NATO, and uphold the post-World War II order.
You know, the fates of the United States and Europe are intertwined. Your struggles are our struggles. Your success is our success. And ultimately, we walk into the future together. This is President Trump's promise. We will stand with Europe today and every day because we are bound together by the same noble ideals: freedom, democracy, justice, and the rule of law.
He also warned that allies must pay their fair share to support NATO, noting that many lack a clear or credible path to doing so. Then he addressed relations with Russia.
The United States will continue to hold Russia accountable, even as we search for new common ground, which, as you know, President Trump believes can be found.
Mr. Pence's message at the summit came just as the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said at the same summit that the West's dominance of world affairs is ending. Mr. Lavrov said, "The U.S. cannot be the only power. We need to set up constructive U.S.-Russia relations, economic and political cooperation. We don't want Russia to be seen as less important. We want mutual respect to recognize the global needs." It is perhaps this desire not to be seen as less important that has propelled Russia to sending airstrikes to Syria in the fight against the Islamic State, providing cover for Syrian forces on the ground, something President Bashar al-Assad is grateful for. A move also acknowledged by other European leaders, including Germany. At the security meeting, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said it was important to work with Russia in the fight against Islamic terrorism. She agreed that there was need to try to build closer ties with the intelligent, secretive neighbor.
Ich möchte hier keinen Bogen dieses Thema machen.
But this change of attitude towards Russia was something missing during the Obama administration. The United States sought to isolate Russia over its 2014 invasion of Ukraine, the 2015 bombing campaign that began in Syria, and later on, the hack of the 2016 U.S. presidential election. The Trump administration is hopeful ties can be restored. In the unfolding development to a leak that former National Security Advisor discussed sanctions with the Russian ambassador before Trump became president, Michael Flynn resigned on Monday, causing a major flurry in the Trump administration and causing leading Republican Party members to call for wide investigation as to what extent the discussions went and those involved. To President Trump, however, Flynn's only mistake was the way he had communicated information about the incident to the vice president.
Wasn't wrong what he did in terms of the information he saw. What was wrong was the way that other people, including yourselves in this room, were given that information.
Then he blamed the media for what he called fake reporting, which he said was making it harder to make a deal with the Russian president.
It would be much easier for me to be tough on Russia, but then we're not going to make a deal. Now, I don't know that we're going to make a deal. I don't know. We might not.
While in the president's eyes, Russia is a tough and capable leader and potential partner in fighting radical Islam, for Russia, the United States is no longer competition, and it intends to let the whole world realize that.
Research professor at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Charles Dokubo, joins us now for the analysis. Professor, it's great to have you.
Well, thanks for having me
on the program. How detrimental could it be to the U.S. government if the Trump administration is found to indeed have been holding discussions with Russian officials before President Trump assumed office?
For me, this is not new. When President Carter was in power and then the Iranian crisis was there, the Reagan administration were talking to the Iranian government in terms of even releasing the hostages. They want it to match the period that will be sworn in. So it's not new in American politics, but the only thing is that if the Russians had influenced the way Americans voted, if they've used anything to sway the paths Americans want to follow, then it becomes a problem. But interfering, relating with Russia during election periods in America is not new.
And I think that's the key issue here, the fact that Russia may have interfered with American politics.
If it is also, it's a big blow for a country that is so important, technologically developed like the United States to be infiltrated by Russia during the elections. These are countries that have accepted democracy for a very long time, and that for their democrat. And also, it's also about the mix of personalities and media images that have been portrayed by this election. Because if you